Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, sat sri akal, aloha, hola, ciao, bonjour, buna, and privyet. It's really, really awesome to be with you again. And yes, we have another very special guest with us today, and it's Galeema Davids, and she's a wife coach. I think that's so cool. Welcome. Welcome, Halima.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here with you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me, for inviting me, and for doing this. Yeah.
Yes, I'm like really looking forward to our conversation. And actually, I'm going to invite you to jump right in and tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Okay. So yeah, like you said, I'm Halima, and I was just telling you how beautiful it is when it's pronounced properly because it's spelled Galeema. So often people could say Galeema, which is fine, Alhamdulillah. But it's so lovely to hear the correct pronunciation. And I'm Halima. And I'm a wife coach, yes, alhamdulillah. I help women or support women, facilitate them in their journey towards connecting more deeply with themselves and connecting with their core strength, alhamdulillah. So, yeah, that's what I do.
That is really cool. So tell me more. So when you talk about like helping women and coaching them, uh, what is like one of the major issues that you see um, the women struggling with?
Um, so many different things, but I know we talked about humor and fun in marriage, and we decided to tackle that topic. And you just asking that question now. Just the first thing that comes to my mind is that is actually the thing that also we women, because I'm one of them, that we struggle with. That it's a big challenge for us to be light-hearted and humorous and funny in our marriages. We often concentrate on connection and like developing that connection in the marriage and the understanding and the communication. We often focus on a lot of those things, but there's a very essential piece I learned about, and in life and in marriage in particular. One of the things I often refer to as one of the things I wish I had known much sooner in life and in marriage, and that essential piece, it it's the humor. It's having fun and making marriage this kind of playground where you just experiment and explore and you have fun and you laugh and you find the humor. So that essential piece is, I think, often neglected. I know I neglected it. It was like, the blind spot. And yes, it's so powerful, and it has the power and ability to transform everything in the marriage. So when we kind of give connection a bit of a break sometimes, and we give this need that we have to communicate, we give that a break sometimes, and we just have fun. Sometimes that in itself just transforms the marriage. You don't even have to sometimes sit down and have long conversations and have this deep need to want to connect. Just having that lightheartedness and the fun and bringing the humor and focusing on that can actually give you the results that you want in an effortless way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why do you think people struggle with being more lighthearted in their relationships and having, this fun element in their relationships? Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers. The Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
That's such a good question because it's something I was thinking also, like starting with myself. All of this always starts with me because I had so many struggles in my marriage and there's so many things. And because I'm a good researcher, that's what I studied at university, research, studies of communications and so on. I'm good at researching. So I always go back to research and finding out things about what will make the marriage, what will bring the best results in the marriage and what will help marriage flourish and things like that. So I love to research about marriage and finding out what helps the marriage and what destroys the marriage as well. So back to your question, why is it so difficult? It's because we are so inhibited. And I know this too well because I'm one of those people. We are so inhibited and we are so scared. And it's unknown territory, to put ourselves out there and to be funny even because when you're trying to be funny, you don't know if anybody's going to laugh. You don't know if you're actually going to be funny, so you have to be brave about it and it's a risk. It's risky. So being funny, being humorous, it's kind of getting out of your comfort zone. It's being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable. So it's a lot of, I think, self-work to get you to that point, even to be able to be funny in your marriage, to be able to be light-hearted and humorous and take the risk of just being funny and fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you saying that this is then something we can learn? So it's like, because, I know that I had this misconception that there's some people who just are funny and lighthearted and they just have that kind of personality, and then other people are just not like that. And I know, like, for a long time, I was a very, very serious and silent person. And actually, I think it not necessarily intimidated other people, but it just made it difficult for me to connect with other people and for other people to feel like they could even connect with me because I was just so silent and serious pretty much all of the time. Um, so yeah, so you're saying, no, this is something we can learn to change and improve about ourselves. So how do you go about doing that?
It is something that can be learned, I think, and I'm still learning myself, and so many other women as well, women that I coach and women that are around me. So I definitely think that, like so many things, it is something that we can learn. But you do get the woman who this comes naturally to, and she's got a special spark about her. You can see that she's different
Yeah.
to other women because it just flows for her. It comes naturally to her. And if you study a woman if you observe a woman who is funny and who is able to just be funny and not be so inhibited and just be daring and be confident enough to be daring. It's very interesting when you see the difference between a woman who is not afraid to just be and be confident and the woman who's inhibited and scared and too afraid to take risks. So while it's something that I think it can be learned, and it takes practice, you can get to the point where you can get to the point where this woman who's naturally funny, you can get to the point eventually through a lot of practice. Right? But yeah, it's a vast difference, I think. So your question was, how do you get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think it's through observation, through
Uh-huh.
learning from women who naturally have this knack, to doing some research as well. It always helps to do some research
Yeah.
and to try it out. So do the research, look up different ways to just different jokes, different ways to be funny. Watch some videos, get an idea of what it is to be funny. Why are people funny? What makes them funny? Why do some women have it and some women don't? What makes that they have it? To study these women in real life and then also watch some videos, learn about them, study about them. Yeah,
Do you
I
have
think that.
any specific like exercises that you recommend women to try out so they can develop this side of themselves?
So I think watching videos, watching funny videos. I was very much resonating to what you were saying earlier about the personality type, about your personality type,
Yeah.
and how you didn't always feel like you connected with people because you were just quiet. And I was very much like that, and I'm still like that. I have moments of being like that. I think we all have different parts of our personalities, and it also very much depends on the people that we surround ourselves with. So I would say surround yourself. Find moments where you actually do surround yourself with funny people, with people with a different personality than what you are used to.
Yeah.
Somebody that resonates with you, people who you can click with, but who are also funny and who are light-hearted, so that rubs off on you because whoever we surround ourselves with, it affects us. The energy, we pick up on that energy.
Yeah.
So I think that's important and it's powerful. And then just
Yeah.
watching comedies, changing the genre, changing the things that you usually watch.
Yeah.
So switch to comedy and find things to laugh about. That when you are laughing, you transfer that energy. So yeah, just changing everything to funny.
Yeah. And I really like your idea of, sort of exposing yourself to different kinds of personalities because there isn't just one way to be funny or to have a lighthearted kind of personality. There's like, for example, even if you look at professional comedians, as it were, they are funny in different ways and for different reasons. Like some people, I know, especially in like some of the olden uh, uh, forms of comedy, it was very physically oriented, where the person themselves, they weren't trying to be funny. I mean, in terms of, but they would do funny things, like they would fall or something, and it'd be very funny to us to see them falling or,
Yeah, yeah,
um, having funny things happen to them. And a lot of classic comedy was that kind of more physical comedy. But I see that also now, especially, there's more like different kinds of comedy where people are being funny in terms of um, the jokes, like they'll say funny things, but some people will actually like say things that with a very straight face. But nonetheless, what they're saying makes you laugh, and other people are just
yeah.
are saying jokes or funny things where they're actually
Mhm.
being funny and making, like different voices and things like that. That's more of like the, I guess, what you might call um the stereotype of what a funny person is like.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it goes back to trial and error, because sometimes you'll be risking it and you'll be trying to be funny, and you won't be funny, and you probably won't get the desired response. But to be brave enough to recover from that,
Mm.
and to be confident enough to recover from that, and do it in a beautiful way, in a dignified way, and you can do it.
Yeah.
It's fine, we all mess up. That in itself can be funny. That in itself can be a moment for humor,
Yeah.
depending on how you recover from that and how you deal with it. So yeah, sometimes something could be funny to one person and it could be not funny to another. I think it's so
Yeah.
on it, and in the marriage especially, I think it's like I said earlier, it's a playground, and we should be comfortable enough to take these risks, but also not too comfortable, because I think in that uncomfortableness, that is where the magic lies, and that is where the fun actually is in the marriage, when you are a bit uncomfortable and it's a bit risky for you, and it could be either or, and you're taking a chance, you're being daring. So yeah, that I think is where the fun actually is in the marriage.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And especially like if both you as a husband and wife can communicate this intention with each other and be like, this is a value that I have and I would love to cultivate this in our relationship. So, when you try different things out, then, your partner knows what you're trying to do and they can support you in your efforts and hopefully you can support them back.
Yes, yes, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, yeah. I think it also depends on the personality type of the people, of the husband and the wife, and
Yeah.
maybe more especially of the wife, whether she will need that soft pillow to fall on, if she, if she's being really risky, if she's really taking a big leap, and she knows herself well enough to know if she's going to feel a bit down, or she's going to feel a bit affected, or her self-esteem will be damaged a little bit, then maybe she does want to talk to her husband about it and tell him, I'm just trying something out. Don't be too hard on me, or don't, you know, consider lovingly how you respond with these things. But then you could also get a different scenario, or a different situation where the woman is strong enough within herself, and she's strong enough to recover from that, and then she can surprise her husband with whatever she comes up with. She can be so unexpected and spontaneous about it, and that also, I think, is even more kind of a bigger element, a more effective and a more powerful element for fun in the marriage, when it's unexpected, when he's just like out of nowhere, she says something funny, or she does something funny that she never usually does, and it's out of the ordinary, and she just like pulls the rug from under his feet, but it's in a good way,
Yeah.
and that just completely just flips the marriage, and fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think for sure one of the problems I see a lot of us struggle with and why, like as a happiness expert, I think, that we can be so challenged with our happiness is that we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yeah. Yes, totally, totally. I speak about these things, but I never want people to think that I exclude myself from it, because I'm one of those people. I also take myself way too seriously sometimes. And sometimes you completely caught off guard. You don't even realize until after the event. I'm like, I took it too seriously. I don't know what overcame me. So we all, I think, go through, or I know I did, I still go through those moments.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think when we can be confident in ourselves, and give ourselves those essential things that we're looking for from the world, and from people around us, from our husbands even. If we can give ourselves that, we are so much better. We are so much more able to just be this gift for the world, and just be this free spirit, and just be the love and the happiness. And when we're not focused so much on this neediness, on this wanting so much, on needing so much from the people around us. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like, well, we all have needs and we all want and need support in our lives. And if you, at the same time, there's maybe some better ways of having our needs met and getting people motivated to help us out. Because if you're like really like you were saying, Halima, it's like if you have this more light, positive, happy energy around you, it puts other people more at ease. And so then it actually helps. It's in a way, by having this lighter energy around you, you're helping other people help you better, you
Yes,
know?
yes, it's a
Uh,
beautiful exchange and it just works so harmoniously. But I hear what you're saying also. It's not easy.
mhm,
There can be moments where it's really tough, especially the marriage. The marriage is, I think, one of
mhm.
those very difficult relationships. And it takes a lot of work. And it's understandably so that a lot of us, we focus on the connection and the communication and the understanding in the marriage because it can be really hard sometimes. And so when you have those pieces of the puzzle, I think of it as a puzzle, and there are so many different pieces. So the
Yeah.
connection, the communication, that's not the only parts of the marriage that's needed for the marriage to flourish. You know,
Right.
the humor is a very essential part.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I can understand why so much focus is put on communication because we're always feeling so misunderstood and
Yeah.
we have these needs of wanting to be connected because we're always feeling disconnected from our spouse. So my point was, I just forget what my point was, panel. Just give me a minute to think. Yeah, but so I've lost
This
it. I just
is
lost my
so
point.
so one thing you were making me think about is, this idea that you mentioned of there's different pieces that
Yes.
go into making a really healthy, happy relationship. Can you share with us a little bit more about some of the other pieces and
Okay.
I think what you were getting at was helping us see the connections between the different pieces also.
Yeah, probably. I tell off sometimes. A friend of mine calls it mommy brain. Because we so much amongst the kids and yeah, it's just yeah, I don't know. Subhanallah. So the different other pieces, I think the essential pieces, from my experience and from my research and yeah, just what I think, um, is the communication, the connection. I think admiration, admiring your spouse and actually having respect for the person as a person. You know, I
Mm,
think that's essential. I think that's the starting point. I think just that respect and admiration is very important.
yeah.
So I think that's an important piece of the puzzle, of the marriage puzzle. Um, yeah, and he said communication. And then I think humor is an important piece. And with humor, I think also is this very important element, and I think it matches in with humor and it's that spark, that desire, that chemistry, you
Mm,
know. And I think we underestimate, we neglect that, we neglect after marriage how important chemistry is, how important that fiery attraction is for a husband, for a wife. um, so I think that's also a very important piece of the puzzle. But it's funnily enough that you're talking about being funny and being humorous, because I think that ties in with being funny. Because when you think of chemistry, I don't know if you know this lady, she's an amazing woman, Esther Perel. She talks a lot about marriage and what helps the marriage thrive and 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 what kills the marriage.
mm,
So Esther Perel is her name, and she speaks about love and desire. And so she says love is the connection part of the marriage that we want, especially as women. We want to feel loved, we want to feel connected, we want to feel close. And then I guess the communication that comes in as well. We want to feel like we're in communication constantly with our spouses. So that's the love part. But a very other important element of the marriage is desire. And you
mm,
need both. You need to be constantly feeling both in order to have a flourishing marriage. So the desire part, I think, is we humor, we what we're talking about fits in, because that the desire, Esther Perel refers to it as the space between the spouses, as the distance, as the unknown, as that risk that you're taking. So not kind of taking your spouse for granted. Oh, I'm so used to him. We've been married for 20 years. He's just like part of the furniture. He's always going to be there. You're basically taking him for granted. So subhanAllah, I'm really laughing about it, but it's actually something that kills the marriage. It can be so disastrous and so detrimental to the
Mm.
marriage that it could end up actually killing the marriage. So Esther refers to desire as an important element in helping the marriage survive, and not just survive but flourish, because we learn then to not take our spouse for granted. And in that risk and in that unknown, those feelings are all put in the same bracket, because those feelings, I don't know, those feelings just help us to feel how important this person is in our lives. Just even in that risk um, of 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 wanting to be funny and not being funny, perhaps. Even in that, just that feeling that you get afterwards is a feeling of, he's here, I appreciate him.
Mm.
He might not always be here, and it's just that you're not taking him for granted.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the other element of a successful marriage.
Yeah, and I suppose also maybe you can share more with us about, especially in the context of long-term relationships. I mean, I'm sure pretty much all the couples who become couples do it wanting to have a healthy long-term relationship, especially like when you're a couple in the context of, getting married. I'm sure no one wants to get married with the intention of, breaking it off or getting divorced or separated anytime soon or ever. Um, and yet, obviously that's an issue that we face in our communities where there's a lot of separation, and actually having a long, healthy marriage is not the norm, and I think maybe one of the issues that we need awareness and more education about is how um, things can change and look different as you grow together. Like I know, like for example, I think about my parents or my grandparents. Like my parents have now been married, mashallah, for 44 years. So I mean, that's a long time to be together. And I know my mom, I've heard both my mom and dad talk about how their relationship has evolved and how they have changed each other over time, and how they are together, how they express their love to each other, how they express and practice, other aspects of their togetherness, and even the desire aspect of it. It all sort of shifts and evolves over time. um, and in some cases, if you're not being proactive about making sure that your relationship, that you're taking care of it and growing it in a healthy way, like you were saying, it can get to that point where you just start to take your partner for granted, and it's like, oh, he's no different than the furniture. So
Uh, yes, yes, yes. Sorry. So, what was the question?
So yes, my question was more about so as we think about the evolution of like a relationship, and you think about keeping it healthy and keeping that love and desire alive, are there different things for us to consider or do in the
Okay.
different stages? If there
Okay.
are any definable stages that you're
Okay.
uh,
Okay. I don't think there are any definable stages. I think it should just be consistent and continuous from
hmm,
beginning to right through. So the things I think a married couple could do is, it's such simple things, but it creates magic in the marriage. So say for instance your husband is a lecturer, or maybe he speaks to a big group of people, you could go and attend one of his gatherings. You could tell him you're going to be there, or you could tell him nothing and just surprise him, and just be sitting in the crowd and watching him. And it's been researched, I think, but I read this somewhere that just observing your husband or your spouse, your wife, just observing from a distance, seeing him in his element, seeing him perform, seeing him at his best. That in itself sparks chemistry. It sparks passion in the marriage. So you could surprise him and let him just see, oh, there's somebody I know. It's my wife in the audience. I didn't know. I didn't expect that. Or you could tell him you're going to be there and he wouldn't know where you're sitting. And that could also create some kind of tension and some kind of chemistry in the marriage. So that's one thing you could do. And I also think just changing things up just for yourself and then also in the marriage. But even just for yourself. So for instance, if you were to just go on a walk, a regular walk, maybe you do a walk every day, and this one particular day you change the route, or you do something different on that day. That in itself, just that change in your life, in your routine, it does something to a person, and then you bring that energy to your relationship with your husband, and then you could do something with your husband as well, a different time. So I think the point being is just changing things, keeping it fun and fresh,
Mm,
thinking of new creative ways of being, of living, of being around your husband, being with yourself, and being with your marriage. Um, and so, yeah, just send him a message at a time of the day that you wouldn't expect. So I think that also is the key. Not something that is not expected, something that you don't usually do. Just like surprise him out of the blue, do something different, send him a message, maybe a funny message that you would never have expected. All of these things, it creates an element, a dynamic in the marriage, which is necessary. It sparks the desire, it sparks the chemistry, it creates that not taking for granted, and the person also feel, your husband will feel loved and appreciated, and likewise, you'll get that same treatment, inshallah.
inshallah, yes. Ah, thank you for sharing all of that amazing wisdom and experience that you have. Do you have any last thoughts or ideas that you would like to share with us as we begin to wrap up?
Your husband should never feel like he knows you completely. That's also a very important thing.
Tell
And
me
and
more about that.
likewise,
Yeah.
yeah, there should always be that 5% mystery. There should always be that 5% of unknown. Like you should maybe one day tell him something that he's never heard about you, and he should be like, oh, like, I thought I knew everything, and he didn't. So he should never feel like he knows everything. You should constantly be surprising him with new information about your life. And the way to do that is to constantly be improving your life and to constantly be evolving. When we're not evolving, we're boring. When we're not evolving and growing and trying out new things and doing new things, we become ordinary and routine and expected. And you don't want him to always know what to expect from you. So the expected part is the love that Esther Perel talks about, and we need that. We need routine at times, but we do also need the other part of it, which is desire. We need the spontaneity. We need a bit of the unexpectedness, the randomness, and things like that. So yeah, you should always be thinking and wondering about you, and you should always be thinking and wondering about him. So you should both we should all be constantly doing new things. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is such an excellent point because I know sometimes we can develop an expectation in our relationships that, like I know, for example, I'm thinking about so many dramas and movies I've seen where they like have couples play games where you get asked questions about your partner, and the attitude in these contexts is that if you're not able to answer all the questions about your partner correctly, then that's somehow an indication that you don't know them and you don't love them and your relationship's not as great. And so the best couples know everything about each other, from the tiniest details of your favorite color and what you like to eat to the deepest,
Oh,
desires and everything. And you have to know everything. And if you don't, then that somehow means your relationship is not a good one. And I, whenever I've thought about that, it just makes me feel really stressed because that's like such a, such a, like if to me it feels like so much pressure. Like I have spent all my life, for example, with my parents and my brothers and sister, and I don't think I even know everything about them. And I
it's
love them and,
impossible. It's
you know,
impossible.
yeah.
Yeah. And
I
it's so
mean,
much better when you don't know everything about another person.
yeah.
And even about yourself, you're constantly learning about us. I'm finding out new things, new parts of myself that
Mm.
I've never discovered. Even the funny part. I never knew I could be funny, but sometimes I can be very funny. So it makes life more interesting, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, we need to, I think, be creating constantly and consistently, continuously creating rich, beautiful lives. And when our lives are rich and juicy and beautiful and exciting for ourselves, firstly, that automatically it will transfer into the marriage.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. That is a wonderful, wonderful bit of wisdom and advice for us to wrap up for today. And I'm just going to remind all of our listeners, please make sure you check the show notes because we will be adding Halima's links in there so you can connect with her and get some help and support to improve your relationships and include more fun in your relationship and more humor in your relationship and just make it more fun and easy. So with that, until we connect next time, I just wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.